Hey, what is up guys? 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢 here, and today we're going to talk about my new favorite go-to key light for my YouTube videos and for my video productions, and that's going to be the SmallRig RC220B Pro light. SmallRig reached out to me to sponsor a showcase video on this new light of theirs, and after testing it and using it for a while, it's actually turned into, honestly, my favorite key light thanks to its versatile design. And as a matter of fact, I like the RC220B bicolor version so much that I went ahead and purchased a RC220D daylight version just so that way I can have a full set of these lights from SmallRig, so that way they're all like properly color match and all of that, because this has been a fantastic light for my video productions. So while this might be a sponsored video, you guys know that I'm all about transparency and honesty, and I wouldn't be covering a product on my channel if it wasn't something I was personally genuinely interested in. With that out of the way, let's jump into my favorite feature of this new light, and that's going to be the portability of it. Most video lights need an outlet to power them, which is the status quo, and if you're only ever using your lights in controlled settings like a recording studio or on a set with proper access to power, that should be totally fine. But if you're trying to make videos outdoors where you might not have access to an outlet, or maybe you're shooting on a large property for a wedding, mobile power is going to be your solution. Now, there are lights in the past I've owned that can accept V-mount or gold mount batteries with an adapter to power the lights, but my issue with those setups were that the designs felt like an afterthought, and you have to mount your batteries with extra accessories that you had to pack with you. I'm not saying that it would have been a deal-breaking issue, I'm just saying that it could have been done better. With the SmallRig RC220B Pro, there's a V-mount battery slot right on the back of the light fixture itself, making the battery power a key focus of this light. So it makes getting a shot like this a lot easier. One trade-off that's important to note here is that if you're using a sub 20 volt V-mount battery, which all of the SmallRig V-mount batteries are, you will be limited to 150 watt output, which will show as 68% on the light. If you do use a V-mount battery with 20 volt output or more, you can get the full output of the 220 watts. And if you decide to use their NPF to V-mount converter accessory, you'll be able to power the light with an NPF battery, which is cool, but you'll only be able to get about 60 watts of output, which will show as 27% on the light fixture itself. Over the years, I've shot with a bunch of different types of lights, as well as lights with different outputs, from 60 watts to 120 watts to 220 watt lights. And whenever I get the question of how much output do I need, the answer really depends on what kind of shooting scenarios are you going to mostly find yourself in. How big is the scene you're trying to light? How much ambient light is there? And as always, a general rule of thumb is you'd rather have more light output capacity than you need than need it and not have it. But here are two examples of when a 220 watt light like this one is enough. Whenever I shoot weddings with Jonathan, we usually use his Aputure 60Xs to light dances at the reception and to light the speeches, and that usually offers plenty of light, and we're usually not even pushing 100% output on that 60 watt light. So something like this 220 watt light here is going to be way more output than we would need. Though I would also probably recommend picking up a Fresnel lens to control the beam angle of the light for a situation like that. Another example is a recent branding session I did with my friend Ethan. We shot with a cyc wall, and while the background was lit with a bunch of panels on the ceiling, I used my SmallRig RC220D as the key light to light ourselves for the shoot, and it did a fantastic job at keying us in that bright environment. The only attachment I had on there was just your typical softbox modifier to diffuse the light and have it wrap better around the subject. And thanks to it being battery powered, it was super easy to set it up really quickly. We didn't have to find an outlet, and as we were shooting, we were able to move the key light around the studio with us without worrying about cables or wires getting in the way, and then to break it down really quickly during our 2-hour rental period. Now, let's take a look at the specs of this light on paper. The output of this light is 220 watts, and it has a bicolor temperature range from a warm 2700 Kelvin to a cool 6500 Kelvin. Based on SmallRig's numbers, their specs on paper say that this light has an output of about 9,180 lux measured at 1 meter, set to 5600 Kelvin at 100% brightness. They claim a color accuracy measurement of 95 plus CRI and 96 plus TLCI, and a color deviation value of plus or minus 0.0015. As someone who's not really a lighting expert, this data does at least give me a point of reference when comparing it to other prosumer lights out there on the market, like offerings from Aputure or something like GVM. Hold on one second, I just realized that the AC has been on and that's kind of loud in the background, so let me turn that off real quick. Perfect. Where was I? Right, brightness. So that 9,180 lux number is a pretty impressive number. When you compare it to other offerings, it's definitely on the high end for a 220 watt light. But what I can say from anecdotal evidence is while using this light, the RC220B, it has plenty of output and is definitely comparable to my other 200 watt lights I've used from other brands in the past. And as a matter of fact, 220 watts is kind of a lot of output. Let me check. What's the output on this right now? I am currently at 6% brightness on this light and 1% brightness on the RC60C, which we'll talk about later. But anyways, back to the quality of the light. It's got a ton of output and there's no color casting or anything like that that I've noticed from shooting all of these indoor segments, outdoor segments, and for our brand session that we did a few weeks back. Another thing that's worth taking a look at is the fan noise generated by this light. Here, actually, take a listen. That's like me putting the microphone like up to the fan. I think it's definitely more than passable. In my office, when I did a little audio recording using this 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗥𝗔 app, which measures how loud things are, when I had the phone microphone up to the fan, it was measuring 48 decibels. And then when I moved the phone about like a foot away from the light fixture itself, it was measuring somewhere around 30 decibels. So again, if you're in a completely dead silent room, you may be able to hear it, but for the most part, I don't think it'll mess with your audio recording. And when you're outside like this right now with like crickets chirping and just like general wind noise and all of that, like I can't hear the fan at all. Next, let's check out the design of the light and all of the features built into it. First of all, build quality wise, it feels well made. The materials used is a combination of plastic and metal, leading to a lightweight and compact design without feeling cheap. On the side of the unit is the main control interface featuring a LED screen, 2 control knobs, and a mode button. On the screen, you'll find operating information like your current intensity and color temperature, which you can control with the 2 knobs. If you press the mode button, you'll switch it to the FX screen. You can control the intensity and the effects with the top knob, and you can switch between them by pressing in the knob. Same goes for the bottom 2 settings of color temperature and frequency using the bottom knob. In total, there are 9 practical effects you can produce with this light, like paparazzi, television, faulty bulb, lightning, breathing, flickering, party, flame, and fireworks. Outside of the control interface, SmallRig continues to make a lot of thoughtful design decisions with this unit as well, like putting the power button on the bottom of the light since it'll usually be mounted at eye level or higher, an easy to operate latch for dismounting modifiers, a button to unlock and remove your V-mount batteries, a dampened support column so that the light doesn't fall forward when you loosen the tilt tension, a metal reinforced mounting column, and a little umbrella modifier holder. Generally speaking, the design is really well thought out. When you prefer to use a wall outlet to power the light when you want full power, it also comes with this gallium nitride power brick that attaches to the back. Included is also a 6-meter or nearly 20-foot power cable, and thanks to this design, there's not a power brick that you need to like hang on your light stand or drag across the floor. And there's multiple options for controlling the light itself, from the interface on the light to the SmallGoGo app, a physical control panel accessory, or using the DMX port for DMX control. While we're here, there's actually 2 other lights that SmallRig sent out that I want to share with you guys because I think they're kind of cool. First of all, we've got the RC60C, the new RGB version of the RC60B, which I talked about on the channel a little over half a year ago. It's got a very familiar design to the RC60B and uses a clamp to hold an external battery, or you can power it from the wall using USB-C power delivery. It's got 60 watts of output and can output any color under the rainbow. If you want to know more about my thoughts on this light, you can check out my previous video on the RC60B, and that'll give you about 90% of the picture, with the last bit just being the fact that it's now finally also able to output color. We actually used this light during the branding session as a fill light, and honestly, for small studio work like I do for YouTube, this might even be enough as your primary key light. Second, we've got the new RF10C. It's shaped like a chunky flashlight, and honestly, that's basically what it is. A 10-watt color-accurate LED light that can produce 4 colors: orange, blue, white, and red. It comes with a little gobo pattern holder and 20 different pattern inserts. It's got 1/4-20 threads for mounting, an internal battery that's USB-C rechargeable and lasts up to about 3 hours of runtime, and it makes for a great little light to add patterns to a background or texture into a scene. So how much do each of these lights cost? The RC220B bicolored light is priced at $369.99, and it also comes in a daylight version as well at $329.99. The RC60C RGB light is priced at $143.99, and the RF10C is priced at just $52.99. If you're interested in checking out any of the gear we talked about today, links will be in the description down below. I've basically said this in every single video where I've talked about video lights, but all the gear that's coming out these days has all gotten so good to the point where there's really only a few things differentiating between something like this from SmallRig or something from 𝗙𝗪𝗟 or GVM, and that's going to be price, unique features, and durability. Personally, I think that SmallRig has been doing a really good job on iterating on the design of their lights. It keeps evolving with each new release, and the fact that they made it more compact and added that direct V-mount attachment slot on the back and still maintains the brightness and color accuracy, and the fact that, I mean, so far none of my SmallRig lights have like malfunction on me or anything like that. For those reasons, the SmallRig RC220B has very quickly become my go-to key light for videos. All right, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, get subscribed if you want to see more content. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think of this light, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Peace.